Employment Act.
Deputy Prime Minister.
I'm going to take no lectures from you on business. My father was run out of business under the Thatcher government. I know what it's like to grow up under a Tory government. And whilst we're talking about it, 26 Tory MPs and counting have already defected to reform, and now they're all counting down, Mr. Speaker, because today is 100 days until the Tory transfer window slams shut. It's going to be the longest and most disloyal transfer saga since Sol Campbell left Spurs. And the member for Clapton, I don't know where he is, has signed 3 white ringers in the past fortnight.
Andrew Griffiths.
Thank you. I don't know what's in his head, Mr. Speaker. It's our party that is getting stronger, and overnight, Mr. Speaker, we learned that the former Deputy Prime Minister has got 80 names. On Sunday, we learned that the Health Secretary's allies claimed that he's got 200 names, and oddly, 50 of them want the Mayor of Greater Manchester, who's not even in this MP. Mr. Speaker, they're supposed to be running the country, and once again, small businesses across this country will see that he didn't answer the question. So I'll tell him, £1 billion a year. That is the burden to businesses of their bill. So there we have it, Mr. Speaker. They've no answers for small business. There's no relief coming. They don't care about high streets. They don't care about hotels, restaurants, farmers or young people. Won't the Deputy Prime Minister admit what the members behind him are thinking? That it's not the Prime Minister going to China that's the problem, it's the fear that he might come back.
Deputy Prime Minister.
Mr. Speaker, he's not going to get this gig again, is he? Let's face it. Mr. Speaker, I've set out our position very clearly. This was the week when the leader of the opposition told Desert Islanders that Britain needs to learn to queue again. And Tory MPs have taken her quite literally. They're lining up outside the member for Clapton's office while they squabble about the damage that they did to our country. Labour this week is capping ground rents, cutting the cost of living and rebuilding our public services. That's the difference a Labour government makes, and there's much more to come.
Mr. Speaker, Elmore Hall School is a fantastic multi-site provision supporting over 200 of County Durham's vulnerable young people with social, emotional and mental health difficulties. Their PAC site in Durham caters for 20 key Stage 4 pupils, but SAN provision in Durham is at crisis point. With an extra school site and PAC extension, Elmore could offer more young people opportunities to thrive locally, saving thousands in costs for alternative provision and taxis. Will the Deputy Prime Minister arrange for the DfE Minister to visit the PAC site, and will they work with me to support the urgent need for additional school facilities and PAC accommodation so young people in Durham can access the education they deserve closer to home?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, I'm very grateful to my honourable friend. We're focused on fixing the SEN system so every child, wherever they live, has the support that they need to thrive. And we will continue our national conversation on reforms. We're also boosting investment into SEN. That includes £200 million to roll out more training for teachers and over £100 million for Durham County Council. I'm sure a minister would be happy to meet with my honourable friend and visit the site at the earliest opportunity.
Deputy Leader of the Liberal Democrats, Daisy Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. On behalf of my party, may I join with the Deputy Prime Minister in marking Holocaust Memorial Day, We Will Not Forget, and also honouring the service of Captain Philip Gilbert Muldowney, who died on Sunday. Mr. Speaker, whilst the Chinese regime still holds British citizen Jimmy Lai captive in prison, and whilst the Chinese regime continues to hunt down pro-democracy protesters on the streets of Britain with bounties on their heads, the British Prime Minister has gone cap in hand to China to ask for a trade deal on the promise of a super embassy from which the Chinese regime will continue to spy on us. The Chinese regime remains undeterred in its illegal actions against the UK and our citizens. So can I ask the Deputy Prime Minister to name one single consequence that the Chinese regime will face if they do not stop their campaign of espionage and repression?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, China matters, and ignoring them would be a dereliction of duty. We will build a consistent, long-term and strategic approach grounded in reality. I set that out in the China audit statement I made a few months ago, and that is what our allies do. President Trump, Macron, Chancellor Merz, Prime Minister Carney, all are visiting and engaging. We'll cooperate where we can, and I'm sure in areas like climate, she would expect us to cooperate, and we will challenge in areas where we disagree. That's the way that we deliver for the public of this country.
Daisy Cooper.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I note the Deputy Prime Minister could not name one single consequence if the Chinese do not stop their espionage and repression. Mr. Speaker,
Withdraw.
Mr. Speaker, the Deputy Prime Minister has responded as if the world has not changed. With Russia waging war in Europe, with the Chinese hunting protesters and pro-democracy protesters on our streets, and with President Trump undermining NATO and the rules-based order which keeps us safe, we have got to act with urgency to strengthen our alliances with trusted allies in Europe and the Commonwealth, and we have got to ramp up defence spending now. Can I ask the Deputy Prime Minister, will he consider as a first step the Liberal Democrat plan to issue defence bonds to raise £20 billion in the next 2 years in order that we can rebuild our armed forces and give British savers the opportunity to invest in the defence of our nation?
The Prime Minister.
I've got to say, I've been here long enough to remember when Labour left office, 2.5% we were spending on defence, and when they were in government with them, they cut it.
John Swinger.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Does the Deputy Prime Minister agree with me that the good work of this Labour government to get the NHS back on its feet, with waiting lists down, including by 2,400 in my constituency, ambulance waits down, and prescription charges frozen, would be put at risk, could be put at risk by Reform UK, as confirmed at the weekend, when the last but one defector, the honourable member for Romford, when asked about a private health insurance system, said, "I don't object to that."
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, he's right. Waiting lists are down 3,200 in his local area, and he's right to highlight the progress with our plan to get the NHS back on its feet. Thanks to this Labour government decisions, waiting lists have fallen by over 300,000 since the election, and we delivered 5.2 million extra appointments, slashed ambulance response times, and recruited 3,000 more GPs. Meanwhile, the member for Romford confirmed at the weekend that Reform would support privatising the National Health Service. Labour will never let it happen. We're trusted with our National Health Service.
Mr. Speaker, this week marks 2 years from the attempted great deception of the former government and the DUP that the Irish Sea border was gone. No checks, no paperwork was the strapline. And yet within the first few months of this new year alone, we've had imposed a veterinary medicine border, and we've had a ban on new GB cars being sold in Northern Ireland. And now the EU says that from July it plans to impose a €3 charge on small parcels coming into Northern Ireland. What sort of government allows a foreign power to impose a tax on parcels coming into its own territory?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I looked at this specifically when I was Foreign Secretary. We've provided a wide range of guidance and support to businesses. We've not seen evidence of significant disruption to the flow of parcels. However, of course, HMRC stands ready to provide support wherever businesses have difficulties.
Alex Boriscut.
Mr. Speaker. When the Prime Minister recently visited my constituency of Cardiff West in Ely to launch the UK Child Poverty Strategy, I took the opportunity to discuss with him that much-needed Pride in Place funding that we want in Ely and Cairo. My constituents are telling me they want it in important things such as a youth zone and in recreational sports activities. So will my right honourable friend agree to meet with me to discuss securing this vital funding for my constituents in Ely and Cairo?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, of course, I'll ensure that my honourable friend gets the meeting with the appropriate minister. Look at the difference that Labour is making in Wales. NHS waiting lists have fallen 6 months in a row thanks to the largest ever devolution settlement. 445 million into Welsh Rail, new offshore wind projects, AI growth zones and the UK's small modular reactor in Anglesey. That's the difference a Labour government makes.
Richard Ford.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Met Office reports that climate change is driving wetter winters. Yet the US withdrew from the Paris Climate Agreement yesterday on the same day that much of the West Country disappeared under flood water. My part of Devon is submerged and needs better flood defences. Would the Deputy Prime Minister like to invite his US counterpart on a fishing trip to the southwest?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, I'll get a licence if I do, but my sympathies are with his constituents affected by the recent floods. We're investing a record £10.5 billion into flood defences to protect 890,000 homes. The flood defences are inherited, of course, from the party opposite, which was shameful. But we've committed to net zero and the Paris Agreement. It's good for lowering bills, good for jobs and investment in the UK.
Elsie Blundell.
In my borough, the social housing waiting list exceeds 7,000 live applications. Council housing offers my constituents the safety and security that they deserve. What further steps can the government take to speed up the delivery of the social and affordable homes programme and build the high-quality social housing my constituents deserve?
Prime Minister.
She's absolutely right. We believe in council housing on this side of the House. We're investing £39 billion to deliver the biggest boost to social and affordable housing in a generation, and that will deliver 300,000 social and affordable homes with at least a 60% rate, and will bring forward legislation to strengthen councils' ability to buy back homes sold under the Right to Buy scheme.
Durham.
The Scottish press is full of stories about the plot by Scottish Labour MPs to bring down the Prime Minister. One Scottish Labour MP said he's terrible. Another Scottish Labour MP said the handling of the budget had been incompetent. And yet another Scottish Labour MP predicted that Scottish Labour would be slaughtered in May's election. They're not wrong, are they, Deputy Prime Minister?
Deputy Prime Minister.
The people of Scotland have a big decision later on this year. Certainly not to vote Conservative, to get rid of SNP and vote Labour. And I and my colleagues will be campaigning every single day to bring that about.
Vicky Volkscroft.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As the UK's first borough sanctuary, Lewisham has a proud history of welcoming people fleeing conflict, persecution and instability. Our council works closely with support organisations to help those people integrate and contribute to our community. So how will the Deputy Prime Minister ensure that proposed reforms to the asylum system support rather than undermine the positive outcomes already being achieved in boroughs like mine?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, I'm grateful to my honourable friend for raising this issue. Britain has always been a fair, tolerant and compassionate country that has offered safe haven to those fleeing peril, and this government will always defend those values. We're introducing the largest overhaul of asylum policy in modern times to restore control, contribution and fairness. That includes creating new, capped, safe and legal routes for refugees. Asylum claims are falling across Europe, but in Britain they are rising. So we must make it less attractive for those who are coming here illegally to come to Britain and easier to remove them, and that's what we'll continue to do.
Mr. Speaker, 6 in 10 families say their pay is going backwards, with the lowest earners £73 a week worse off, and middle earners are worse off too. So will the Deputy Prime Minister admit that his government, this government, has broken its promise to improve living standards?
Yeah. Deputy Prime Minister.
Real wages have risen nearly every single month since we came into office.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Sergeant Matthew Telford, Trooper Robert Pearson and Guardsman James Jimmy Major, aged just 18, 3 heroic servicemen from Great Grimsby and Cleethorpes who made the ultimate sacrifice on their tours of Afghanistan. I want to put on record my condemnation of President Trump's plain wrong comments that so undermine the commitment of our brave British servicemen and women at home and abroad, which the Deputy Prime Minister has rightly recognised. This government has launched the Valour system to ensure that our veterans' support offer on housing, health, welfare and work is fit for purpose, fully backing our forces. That's in stark contrast to the leader of Reform, who happily takes cash to champion the IRA.
Shame.
My local armed forces charities want to know if he can set out how urgent action is being taken to house homeless veterans by this government under Valour.
Deputy Prime Minister.
One of the greatest privileges of my life is visiting our servicemen and women who are stationed abroad. We're renewing the contract with our veterans, providing millions to eradicate veteran homelessness and investing £50 million into a nationwide network of support centres. I also want to take this opportunity to pay my respects to Private Jonathan Kitolongoda. He was the first British soldier killed by enemy action in Afghanistan on this day in 2004. He was just 23. The valour and heroism of those who have served our country to keep us safe must never be forgotten.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. A month ago today, protests erupted across Iran. In response, the Iranian government launched a deadly crackdown. They fired indiscriminately on protesters and they've shut off internet access to hide what they were doing from the outside world. In April 2024, the then Shadow Home Secretary, now the Foreign Secretary, asked the Conservative government if they would finally proscribe the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps as a terrorist organisation. And just 2 weeks ago, she described the Iranian regime as a consistent threat to the UK's stability, security, freedom and our national interest. The world order that we thought we knew is being shaken up. The US is no longer able to show moral leadership to governments that kill their own citizens. Can this government step up and take the lead, and will they now proscribe the IRGC?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, I utterly condemn the Iranian regime's brutal repression of peaceful protesters. It's a long-standing position under successive governments not to comment on whether a specific organisation is being considered for proscription. We have long criticised Iran's authoritarian regime and taken robust action to protect UK interests from Iranian state threats, and that includes over 220 sanctions on Iran, placing the entirety of the Iranian state on the enhanced tier of the Foreign Influence Registration Scheme. We're working at pace, of course, to explore what further measures can be taken to respond to these horrific.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, violence is again escalating in northeast Syria, Rojava, with humanitarian crisis unfolding, and the city of Kobani under siege yet again. The Kurdish communities who fought and helped defeat ISIS now feel abandoned by their Western allies. Will the Deputy Prime Minister commit to working with our allies to hold the Syrian regime to the March 2025 agreement by securing protection for Kurdish civilians, pushing for a meaningful immediate ceasefire, opening humanitarian corridors into Kobani, and supporting constitutional recognition for Kurdish region?
Prime Minister.
Well, recent events in Syria have been deeply concerning. This is a significant moment for Syria's future, and we're using every diplomatic lever to urge all parties to stop the violence, protect civilians, and ensure humanitarian support can be accessed. The Foreign Secretary has highlighted the importance of protecting the rights of the Kurdish community to Syria's Foreign Minister this week, and we have consistently advocated for an inclusive political transition. We remain committed to standing with the Syrian people as they seek to build a more stable, free and prosperous future.
Lee Anderson.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. It was reported on the TV yesterday that the Labour backbenchers are revolting. Now that is a matter of opinion.
You don't have a TV licence.
Unlike the Labour backbenchers and the Prime Minister.
You don't have a TV licence, please.
Unlike the Labour backbenchers and the Prime Minister.
He doesn't have a TV licence. I mean, keep going. Where's your TV licence?
Hi.
Well, order. I didn't want to have to get up. One of us is going to sit down. It's not going to be me. Who was the person that was speaking out then? If you haven't got the guts to admit to shouting somebody down, leave the chamber. Lee Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Unlike the Prime Minister of our country, I've never been thrown out or barred from a pub, and after yesterday's disastrous announcement to save our pubs, there's no wonder it's cleared off to China. But I've got one question for the Deputy Prime Minister. Will he come with me to Ashfield to visit some pubs and speak to some landlords and explain to them why over 500 pubs have closed since this Labour government came into power, and why another 500 pubs will close in the next year? Come on, be a man.
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think I once campaigned with the honourable gentleman who was a member of the Labour Party. And it's been said of him that when he left, he enhanced the IQ of the Labour Party and the IQ of the party that he went to. I wonder what job the honourable member is pitching for on Reform's shadow cabinet. They've got Nadeem Zahawi to advise on tax, the member for Newark to open up the borders. Now they need Liz Truss to crash the economy.
Ian Byrne.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I hope you get well soon. Lydia Jakeman is 19 years of age and has been given a devastating diagnosis of motor neurone disease. When she was told she has a very rare form of the disease that can be treated with a groundbreaking new drug called tofersen, her family were given hope. They have since discovered that while the drug has been made available to the NHS free of charge, a local trust has declined to deliver it. This afternoon, a family will be arriving at Downing Street, having walked from Southampton to highlight this injustice. Will the Deputy Prime Minister work with me, MPs from across the House, the Department of Health and Social Care ministers, as well as NHS bosses, to deliver fair access to tofersen for all living with this rare form of motor neurone disease?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, can I say to my honourable friend that I'm sorry to hear about those that are waiting for this treatment, and of course I will ensure that he gets the appropriate meeting with the relevant minister.
James McMurdo.
GR Car is a business in Burnt Mills in my constituency in Basildon, with over half a century of experience in steel manufacturing and fabrication. It is exactly the kind of medium-sized business that builds this country and we should be championing. Following my visit to them last week, I was disturbed to find out that many of our contracts from our flagship deals in Teesside and in our nuclear programmes go offshore, such as the 7,000-tonne order for steel to China and the 200+ kilometres of fabricated pipework to Germany. This is exactly the kind of investment that should be done in the UK. So how does sending offshore play into their growth plans?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, the honourable gentleman will remember that we stepped in to save British Steel and we committed up to £2.5 billion to rebuild the sector, and we'll publish a steel strategy setting out how we're going to achieve that shortly. The British industry supercharger will also bring down energy costs for strategically important UK industries.
Patricia Ferguson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. At a time when this government is promoting a duty of candour to ensure all public servants, including ministers, should have a legal duty to act with transparency and frankness, and when the Scottish Government has indicated it hopes that legislation will apply there too, does the Deputy Prime Minister support calls for the current First Minister, a former First Minister and a former Health Minister to appear before the inquiry into the deaths of adults and children as a result of contaminated water at the Queen Elizabeth University Hospital in Glasgow? A scandal widely thought to be the worst since devolution began.
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, my honourable friend is right to raise this serious matter. It's a scandal, one of the worst failures in modern Scottish public life. The SNP government must acknowledge the grave failures at Queen Elizabeth Hospital. When whistleblowers raised serious failings, SNP ministers sided with the Health Board and dismissed families who went through tragic circumstances. That should be condemned as wholly unacceptable, and there's no clear example of why Scotland needs change with Anna Sarwar.
The UK's nuclear deterrent has kept this country safe for over 5 decades, and as the Deputy Prime Minister will know, it's operationally independent, but it still relies on US defence supply chains. Given the shaking of traditional alliances, could the Deputy Prime Minister reassure the House and the country that the UK has sufficient stockpiles of the component parts of the D5 Trident II missiles that the nuclear submarines have, and ensure that the supply chain remains resilient and is able to cope with any change in the White House, whether positive or negative?
Deputy Prime Minister.
He raises an important issue, and it's why I was pleased to work with the Defence Secretary on the Strategic Defence Review, and that we're investing £270 billion over this Parliament into defence.
I think so.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. I know that the Deputy Prime Minister takes a deep interest in Uganda. 2 weeks ago, there was a sham election. People prevented from voting. Government officials stuffed the ballot boxes. Now the military is pursuing Bobi Wine, the leader of the opposition, with deadly intent. I'm gravely concerned about Bobi, opposition activists and British citizens in Uganda. What can we do to safeguard those people and ensure that we don't see violence and bloodshed on the streets of Uganda?
Deputy Prime.
Well, I was very grateful to meet with Bobi Wine and him when I was Shadow Foreign Secretary. We call for peaceful and credible elections. This dispute must be resolved peacefully and legally. Opposition candidates must be able to campaign freely. And of course, we will continue to make representations forcefully.
Bob Blackman, final question.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And I join the Deputy Prime Minister in commemorating Holocaust Memorial Day. But unbelievably, Palestinian Pulse, an organisation, plan a protest outside Parliament today entitled "Confront Power in Parliament, an anti-Zionist rally." Now, the Jewish population of our country have had to put up with weekly protests in our towns and cities since the 7th of October 2023. Now we have Jewish businesses and restaurants having protests outside, trying to close them down. The chants are anti-Semitic. The meaning behind them is anti-Semitic.
Well said, please.
And we see where it leads. The massacre on Bondi Beach. What happened in the United States, and unbelievably, 2 of our Jewish population being murdered in Manchester. Now, Lord Macdonald's review is going to obviously look at this. But the Jewish population of this country do not have 2 years to wait before this hatred is extinguished. So will the Deputy Prime Minister take concrete steps to ensure that anti-Semitism is driven out of our country?
Deputy Prime Minister.
Well, I'm very grateful to the honourable gentleman. He and I have worked cross-party on these issues over many years, particularly as I represent Stamford Hill, one of the historic homes of the Jewish community, and he's quite right. The rising anti-Semitism that we see, the nature of some forms of protest is intolerable and unacceptable. That is why the Home Secretary has set out the plans that she has, and I will continue to work with her closely to drive anti-Semitism out of this country.
That completes Deputy Prime questions. Let the front benches change over.